I do
Hit
have one.
record. Oh, sorry. Say again.
I do have one liner that I sometimes use that you can record and then keep or not keep. How's that?
Let's do the one-liner.
All right. Austin, thanks for having me. Tim Bryson with Sandler. You know how your parents taught you um, not to talk to strangers and not to ask about money. I'm in
Mhm.
sales, and that's what I do all day, every day.
We gotta unlearn a whole bunch of stuff, like the head trash, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm kind
Hmm.
of learning. I'll get there one day.
You are doing just fine, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, let's get to the first one. Good or bad, what trend in the top of funnel motion is catching your eye right now?
I forgot to ask you how long you want my answers to be.
Do as long as you want them to be.
Okay. Good trend. I I find this hilarious, Austin. There's a recording in our archives from like a while back, I think the 90s, where there's a sidebar conversation as the guy's going up to take the stage, and the conversation is, cold calling's dead. Nobody answers the phone anymore. They were saying that back in the 90s. But you know what I'm finding prospects are doing right now? They're breaking the rules. When I call them, they answer the phone. What the heck? And you know what's even weirder? I share my 30-second commercial, which I've practiced for a while at this point, so it's
Yeah.
been crafted, it's been refined. But literally, so I think I was telling you about the guy I called through Top Sale 2 months ago, who said, I quote, I share my 30-second commercial of how I work with business owners similar to him. He goes, man, I've been looking for somebody like you potentially. And he did some assessments, and we're meeting again on Wednesday.
Yeah,
There
that's
was a
awesome.
bit of relationship equity that I knew a guy that he knew kind of thing, but he answered the phone. I'm like, dude, what is your problem? You know, nobody, decision makers don't answer the phone. Tell that to the CEO that answered when I cold called him the other day. Like, what's going on? But it's funny.
Have you noticed it like become more late, like more like reception like lately? Because
So
I had huge
I
gaps in mine.
yeah,
And so like at the beginning, it was just like that's all they I had phone numbers. That's all I had.
right.
And then I took a break from being a seller and I did it again for a little bit and I sucked and I needed training, hence
Mm.
working with you guys. And so my experience has been only in this age of AI where it seems like everyone's happy to pick up the phone. I don't know if you've actually like seen it up and down, up and down.
So I've seen two things recently that I think are fascinating. Ask any business owner you know how many emails and LinkedIn messages they've gotten in the last week versus how many phone calls.
Yeah.
99 out of 100 will tell you they have gotten 5 to 10x more LinkedIn messages and emails at least than phone calls. So the funny thing that happens is when they answer, they're suspicious. And then I say something that convinces them I'm a real human being, and they're so happy to talk to me because I'm actually a real person. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Very, very wild. Um, I think I think it's going to vary by size of company, by industry to some degree, I've found, but also I've seen people respond from all across the place. And then, ironically, there are some people still that would never do not answer the phone. Got another guy who I'm talking to, doing some work with, who even after he knew who I was, didn't answer the phone, but he responded to the email.
Hmm.
And I think that has to do with his personality. The dude's a PhD data scientist. He loves communicating over email.
Yeah.
So I ask people all the time, would you rather be comfortable or make money? So why don't you meet your prospects where they're comfortable? And if you don't know, then call, email, LinkedIn, drop by, networking event. I don't know because I don't know what they prefer. So I'm going to show up where I think they might be because I want to meet them where they are.
Nice.
And I will say part of that is having the conviction, having the belief that what I do is valuable to them. And if that's in my head as I'm calling, they're going to feel that. And if I'm nervous and I'm scared and I'm hoping they don't answer, they're going to feel that too.
Yeah.
It has to be well executed. It's been my experience, and obviously I'm getting better every day at that, and I can still get better sometimes. But
I've been to your point about being like nervous or not really wanting to like have the person answer the phone and all that jazz. I used to feel like I was interrupting somebody's personal space, and I've been working on that head trash of being like, You know what, as their role as this person who's a CEO or a sales leader or, a leader in their organization, they should
Yep.
expect calls. And then to be Sandler about it, also give them the opportunity to say, no thanks, and just like leave it at that.
Yep.
But like it's helped me so much with like the ability to just pick up the phone to just reconfigure how I'm thinking about it and just being like, no, this is an expectation. I have to be polite
Mhm.
but I'm not interrupting your personal space. I'm engaging them in their professional role. That's
It is a
helped a
red
ton.
letter day for my prospects if they choose to answer the phone and have a conversation with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to carry that belief because we know sales is an emotionally violent profession.
Yeah. That might have been why I quit the first time. Any bad trends that you want to highlight, or is the good and the bad kind of like part?
I mean, I alluded to it,
Yeah, I kind of thought.
the bad trend. And again, email's not dead either. Well crafted, thought out, and intentional. Can you use AI to research what pain points you should highlight? So it's more tailored and customized to the persona. Yes.
Yeah.
Should you copy and paste what the AI wrote? No.
Yeah.
I have started unsubscribing from newsletters because I see that the tells like you had AI write this, didn't you? No thanks. Delete, unsubscribe.
Yeah.
That's the biggest bad trend that I'm seeing is, you know, bad selling is still bad selling.
Yeah, makes sense. All
Yeah.
right. So when you're going your day to day or over whatever like time period, how are you
Yeah.
monitoring your top of funnel health and like what are things you're watching out for that are saying change
Yeah.
something?
For sure. Well, sometimes if nobody's calling me, then I call Austin and say, "Hey, can you give me a new number? I think I'm showing up as spam." But
Yeah.
aside from that, two things. You've heard us say in Sandler 100 times, success is the activity, not the result. So if my activity number isn't where it needs to be, of course my pipeline is going to be thin. But the other thing I monitor relentlessly is what I would call a meaningful conversation. You answer the phone, I share my 30-second commercial, and you either say, "Yeah, that actually sounds relevant," or "Go pound sand. I never want to hear from you again." Hang up on me. To me, a meaningful conversation is we got to an outcome. You told me yes, you told me no. Maybe you came to an event that I'm hosting, or we got to something specific. You told me no, but you gave me a referral. If I'm doing, you've probably seen this. I've seen salespeople. "Well, I did 250 interactions today." Well, how many conversations did you have? Three. Okay, then your activity wasn't the right activity.
Mhm.
So I'm monitoring not just the activity count, but the conversations. And one of my buddies reminded me a long time rule in Sandler is if I can have 10 conversations a day, that's a really healthy metric. Do I get 10 every day? Nope. Is that what I'm monitoring? So if I get 25 in a week, okay, I'm looking at it's probably one of the things actually that triggered me to say, "Hey, I feel like I'm not getting a lot of callbacks. Can we look at this?"
Mhm.
And then after that, going down the funnel is from conversation to discovery and so forth. But even though I want to look at my leading indicator because that's what I can control, I have to look at my outputs because if I'm not seeing the output, then I got to figure out, okay, where is it breaking down?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I used to try to pin it on like, I still do, but now that you're saying this, it's like, how many meetings am I getting for next week, basically? And
Hmm.
you can only control so much of that, but the
Right.
meaningful conversations, you can control that part. Because you
Yes.
might just get the wrong 10 people that day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can control it in the sense of if I'm consistently not getting 10 a day, either I'm not calling the right people or I'm not calling enough,
Mhm.
you know. And again, I'm a huge fan of data-driven decisions. I shouldn't say again because I didn't say that before, but um, data-driven decisions. Like I might have a gut feel for what I think I'm doing, but if I don't have, CRM, top sales, something that's showing me here's what my conversion rates were,
Yeah.
then it's 2026. There's no reason we should be going on gut feel when we have more data than we've ever had in history.
Yeah, but gut feelings are great. They're fun. They,
Okay, gut
they let
feeling
you
has
believe
its
whatever you
place.
want to believe.
Yes.
No, I'm just
It's
kidding.
an art and a science.
Yeah.
Gut feel has its place. Yes. But it's not a not the it's two sides of the a railroad needs two tracks. I don't know where that fits somewhere, but I'll just throw that in as a freebie if that's all right.
I like it. I like it. I mean, in my opinion, you can't improve what you don't measure. And so if you're not
Yeah.
measuring it, there's no way to improve it. You
for
can
sure.
think you're improving it, but you don't know because you didn't measure it. So then you're just
Absolutely.
always in this, railroadless like track where you're just kind of wandering in the wilderness and you need to put some sort of like data on it. And then you can make up decisions off that, but data
Yeah.
probably helps more.
Which actually that was my answer to your next question. So go ahead and answer my
Oh, no, that's
ask your next question because that's dovetailed
what's your
with the
tactical, tangible move to break your team out of an unhealthy slump or yourself out of an unhealthy slump?
either one for sure.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it is what is the data saying, right? Um, the it is, in my opinion, completely unhelpful if my problem is conversion from top of funnel to middle of funnel. The solution is not more top of funnel activity.
Hmm.
You know, if I'm having a bunch of conversations that aren't moving to the next steps, or if I'm doing those 200 interactions and I'm getting 3 meetings, I don't need 300 interactions. There's probably something wrong with my conversion rate.
Yeah.
So, and then when I look at the data, so I hope we're recording calls to some degree. I hope we've got emails tracked in CRM. We can see who's opening, all those things. Look at the data, and then I would analyze the data through the BAT triangle. So behavior, attitude, technique. If you spend any time around Sandler, you'll hear us say this 100 times. But it's another great um, lens to say, okay, is it? If it's technique, it's just I'm not reversing when I should be, or you
Yeah.
know, they say I'm all set. I'm all set, and I'm like, okay, thanks. You know, that's a technique problem. I need to have something to respond there. But if it's we talked earlier about, if I've got my parents on my shoulders going into a sales call saying, into prospecting call saying, you shouldn't ask about money and it's not polite to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
I didn't say that right, but you know what I'm trying to
I know
say.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Right. It's a huge attitude problem, and I can make all the calls in the world
Yeah.
and I'm going to get stalled. But again, if the data says I'm just not doing enough activity because I don't have time, quote unquote. I love that one. Or I'm just not comfortable. I'm scared, but I'm not doing the behaviors. I want to know what's the root cause of that slump, and then we'll troubleshoot it through behavior, attitude, technique,
Hmm. Yeah. I
and
like.
then the last thing, just not to cut you off, but
Oh, wow.
the thing I was going to say, the other thing I say about the railroad analogy is hopefully nobody here listening struggles with this, but I sometimes see salespeople that default to networking because it's easier. Now, this shows up a little more maybe in in-person context than like the outreach that we're talking about, but it's always easier to call somebody and say, "Hey, do you know anybody that maybe I should call?"
Hmm.
and hope for those warm intros. It's scarier to call somebody that's actually a prospect and say, "Can I tell? Can you don't know me? We've never met, but can I share with you what I do?" Because I'm risking rejection.
Yeah.
But if I'm in a slump and I haven't made any calls to, I don't know, industry associations where my prospects hang out or influential people that know the people I'm trying to reach, I have no problem with 5% of my outreach being to those people to unlock that door because it's a little variation, right?
Yeah.
Indirect and direct prospecting, the train needs both rails to go down the track. I just have to remember it's often easier to default to the networking piece. Networking has to be earned. They have to show me that they're worthy of building that relationship.
Nice.
That was a freebie.
So what's your favorite counterintuitive fact about top of funnel activity?
I just go. I'll key off of the indirect prospecting thing.
Yeah.
Is there's tons of content and tons of resources about inbound leads and marketing and lead generation and um, referrals and those are all super important stuff. And I know a bunch of people that run really successful marketing companies, and that's important. But also true, Austin, as a business owner, is it possible to run a business without marketing?
Yes.
Yes. Is it possible to run a business without sales?
No, not at all.
No, I know. And that's my favorite counterintuitive fact is it's easy when I'm a startup. Well, I got to set up a bank account, set up an LLC. I need an attorney. Da, da, da. I need a website and I need a logo. Okay, yes, at some point. But what we forget is if you get all the leads in the world and you have a great website and you can't get more strangers to give you money and buy your stuff, it doesn't matter. And my favorite thing about top of funnel activity is you can make a lot of progress and make a lot of money if you do it before you think you're ready. Which, trust me, as a historically overanalyzer, lifelong planner, is scary as all get out to pick up the phone before I think I'm ready. And
Yeah.
then they tell me no, and I still have all four limbs and I didn't die. What the heck?
So not ready in like the sense of like you don't feel practiced enough, you're still feeling a little raw and like the presentation of 30 seconds, but just going for it, learning on the like learning, reflecting,
Yeah.
not being maybe necessarily.
hmm
Yeah.
Would you rather? I ask salespeople this all the time. Would you rather have 10 okay conversations with potential clients or two really good conversations?
I'm going with two really good personally, but what would you
And
recommend?
most people say that.
Yeah.
But what gets you more reps?
Uh, yeah, the 10.
Right. And by the way, I'm not saying don't practice. I'm not saying be bad at what you do. I'm saying
Yeah.
if you get out there, and it's, by the way, it's great if you happen to be a startup listening to this, you can say, hey, can I ask you your opinion about something? We're just like, we're doing this thing, like we're trying to get this started. Like, would you even buy something like that if it was you? And then I can make it about somebody else and not about them. And then they sometimes say, well, what about me? I don't know. Did you want to talk about you? Right.
Mhm.
But yeah, you can't. And again, maybe I'm just speaking to myself there, but I know for a long time I was like, well, I'll call that, or what about this? Moving from squirrels to rabbits to deer to bear. I'll call that bigger company when I'm ready, when I'm good enough, when I'm worthy enough. Goes back to the head trash, right?
Yeah.
And then you didn't go anywhere, but I through top sale, I got a CEO of like a $2 billion company answer the phone. That was weird.
Yeah.
He was busy and he never called me back after that, but he answered the phone. I don't know.
You never know if it's
Yeah.
just the right time. Who knows what you could have landed there, right?
Yep.
I was
That's my
just
favorite.
talking to my little sister, and she has this idea that she wants to roll out, and she's like, excited, and she's talking about like, should I get an investor, and that way
hmm
I don't have to work for a while. And I was like, yeah, maybe on all that stuff, but how are you going to get customers? Like,
hmm
that's the first thing you should really be answering. And then it's like, if you just pick up the phone and called like 500 people, that's going to be more valuable than any code that you could write at this point in time. And just call
Yep.
500 people. And even if you don't have the thing even started yet, you'll know a lot more and you'll be a lot more ready to either say, yes, this is a good idea or no. And so that like when you're saying like, are you even ready? Like if you're talking to a startup, I'd say before you even launch or do anything, just like
Yeah.
go call 500 people and see what they say. And then that'll tell you if you should do it or not.
Yeah. And I love that, Austin. And just to maybe confirm, if you're not a startup, it's not just for startups.
Oh yeah.
It's, hey, we need to break into a new industry, or we have a
Mhm.
new product that's launching, or we need to call on bigger accounts, or we're expanding, or I'm new to the industry, I'm new to sales. You can't wait until you're ready. Just pick up the phone and call somebody,
Yeah.
and best guess, you won't die and you won't lose a limb.
I like that's your best guess. Not,
That's
not a guarantee.
it's not a guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantees in life, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting because we're trying to break into a new vertical.
hmm
And the ease of which you can start a cold call conversation by just saying, hey, I don't know if we're even going to go for this vertical. You give me some feedback. And I got tons of great insight and help from the people.
Yeah.
And they were just like straight up like, hey, we do inbound and referral. Like we don't do outbound. Like some companies do. But I talked to
Right.
enough people to be like, this industry is full of a lot of inbound referral folks. And as an outbound tool, what's the point? And so
Right.
like it was so easy to have the conversation. And like,
hmm
was like, okay, well, we're not going to go that direction. But like tons of people who are never going to be customers gave me insight I would have never been able to get without picking up the phone,
Yeah.
which is wonderful.
That's how I figured out I didn't want to be an attorney, as my mentor connected me to an attorney and we had lunch. And that was way cheaper to figure out than taking the LSAT and going to law school to figure out I didn't want to be an attorney, right?
Yeah, I'll share.
So I went to sales instead, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think of probably, in my opinion, more productive and important role, but I won't go into my trauma with attorneys and my
Well,
experience with them.
yeah,
Uh,
the final funny part of that is then the attorneys graduate law school, and if they want to make partner, guess what they have to do that they didn't learn how to do in law school?
Sales
Sales
every single time.
every single time.
All right. So
Anyway,
last question. What's your
yeah.
favorite story about an unsuspected win that you had?
Oh gosh, I have so many. I mean, I alluded to my two current favorites that I
Yeah.
referenced, so I'll dive into them just a little bit more. Um, so what I didn't say was the guy who he had, I don't know, gone to high school with one of the guys at a previous client. So there was a name reference, which is another hack, by the way. You've got relationship equity with somebody out there, and then it's not a cold call. It's a lukewarm, cool call, if you
Yeah.
temperature wise. But um, this guy straight up says to me, I only answered. He says, normally I don't answer when I don't recognize the number, but it rang on the Bluetooth in my wife's car and I couldn't see the caller ID, so I answered. And that was the guy when I shared my 30-second commercial. He goes, um, I've been looking for somebody like you potentially. And we did a couple assessments. We're meeting Wednesday to talk about his one of his teams, and then we're gonna have another meeting to talk about the other team that he has. But literally, the only reason he says he answered is because it rang on the Bluetooth in his wife's car, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I mentioned was this, because Topsail has a great call, email cadence, and the data scientist guy responded and said, "This is actually interesting to me." He goes, "Do you have guarantees for like outcomes or how many meetings you help people set?" And I wrote back and I said, "Thanks for responding. I have no guarantees, but I guarantee I push people out of their comfort zones and I ask them challenging, tough questions. And I can't guarantee results because I can't guarantee people implement the things that I teach them to do. Knowing that, are you still open to a conversation?" And of course, he's a analyst, so we had a coffee and a meeting, and then he came to my talk, and then we had another meeting. But he reminded me of me when I started. Lots of questions, lots of analysis, and eventually, after telling me no at least once, he did three assessments, and we're meeting at the end of the month to talk about what training looks like. But that by the way was just because I said, "Hey, I'm in this chamber. Here's some people that I haven't met that are in this chamber. Just Austin, can you put this list in there?" I'll just call them and say, "Hey, we're both in the chamber. I have no idea if this is relevant to you, but here's what I do."
Nice. Well, hey man, I appreciate it. That's all 5 questions. Those are great answers.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for
yeah,
your time.
thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on the show. Long time listener, first time caller.
But all one episode, now number two.
That's right. Exactly. Yes.